So Frank, why don't you tell us how you got into racing?
I think it was, I know it was midway through high school. The high school parking lot was starting to fill up with small motorcycles as the Japanese invasion had truly started in North America. Honda and Yamaha had made serious inroads, and little 80cc and 90cc motorbikes were running all over Streetsville, the little town that I lived in. And one thing just led to another. You know, we rode in the streets, and then we rode in the gravel roads, and then we ended up in the farmers' fields. And next thing you know, we were doing what was called scrambling, and that became motocross. And we did that as kids. I progressed from motocross into flat track. I did flat track racing for a while, and just I was constantly a motorcycle fan. I've been interested in motorcycles since I was a very young lad, standing on the back seat of my dad's car. No seatbelts or anything back in them days. I've always had that interest, and I've always had the passion for motorcycles, and I like sharing that passion with people. And I can certainly identify and empathize with a lot of the racers here. I hear them constantly complaining about the cost of racing and running up credit card bills and what have you. And I did that for a period of time. You know, probably 4 or 5 years. We would race all summer long and end up at the end of the summer deeply in debt, and then work our you-know-whats off all winter to pay off the debts to get ready to go racing the following year. And then age caught up with me. I got married and had a family, and got into the media end of it.
So that's a perfect segue. How did you get into the media end of it? And did you know that was something you always wanted to do from a young age, or is that something that came along?
It's something that just fell into my lap, Judah. It was, quite honestly, the way it happened was there was a long-time announcer who had a fondness for alcohol, and unfortunately, as the day went on, his inebriation became more and more, and bottom line was a promoter decided that he didn't want that announcer and asked me if I would be interested in trying it. And it was just that simple. They put a microphone in my hand, and things went well, and I've been doing it since. Started out with flat track, and then through the graces of Jean Gauthier at Shannonville Motorsport Park, I had a chance to announce the Race Super Series there. And then working at that venue, I was exposed to the National Championship Series, which Colin Fraser was running at the time, and he invited me to come on board with the Parts Canada Superbike Series, and I've been with them ever since. We did a stint, and again, this is through Colin Fraser. We were able to do a stint for 3 years in the United States of America with the Moto ST Endurance Series, and that spun off into the AMA Pro Series, and I was for one single year the one and only AMA Pro Series announcer. We did that in 2009, and then they disbanded that job in cost cutting, and I came home, and glad to be here.
So what has it meant to you, Frank, to be able to be so closely tied to the sport that you love, and to have such a central role, to be one of the central figures at all the race events?
I search for words here, Judah. I've made it my life, quite simply. I left a job and decided that motorcycling is what I want to do. So I've concentrated on motorcycling, whether it be writing for Inside Motorcycles magazine, working at Michel Mercier's Fast School, working for John McBride from Rider's Choice at his track days, working for Parts Canada, and staying totally involved in motorcycling. So I came up with a little byline that is, if it has nothing to do with motorcycles, it has nothing to do with me.
And what is it about motorcycle racing that just draws you so deeply?
I think it all boils down to the people, you know, the people that you interact with, whether it be the rider straddling the motorcycle or the mother who is near tears at the side of the racetrack. You identify with these people. They have the same passion that I have, only they're much more deeply involved than I am. So I'm just an observer, if you will, but as I mentioned earlier, I do have empathy with them, and I love them all.
So can we expect to see you in front of the microphone for several more years?
I hope so, yeah. As long as the lad upstairs keeps this thing ticking, I have a mic in my hand, yeah.